Hey guys, Alex from FastFitnessTips here. We're visiting Aero bikes today. We are leveraging the power of our big database, approximately 1,400 bikes. And from that, we're extracting our data on special frames. Now, mostly that's Aero bikes, but if you do a price-weight comparison, you find bikes with special frames may include not just Aero bikes, but those with unusual materials, most notably titanium. So I've actually mixed up, some people are going to get annoyed here, but I've actually mixed up Aero bikes and titanium bikes. But you will be able to unmix them, unfilter them by characteristic. More of that later. So Aero bikes, we know these are hot property in the bike market. We've had Aero bikes for years now. What's new in the Aero bike market? Well, basically what's new is disc brakes on Aero road bikes. And as you know, we've had a recent video on that. And a good example of this would be Specialized S-Works Venge. If you look at the Venge, it came out in the non-disc version, but lately there's a disc version, and also there's electronic shifting if you want electronic shifting. So you can have Aero road bike in the conventional mechanical, or you can have it in conventional disc brake, or you can have it on disc brake with electronic, in other words ticking all the boxes. So it becomes quite a complex category. Now in fact pretty much every bike site has reviewed, given their opinion on the latest and greatest Aero road bikes. For example, a nice review on Road CC, another review on Cycling Weekly, another review on cyclist.co.uk, 29 best Aero bikes 2017. Also a review on RC UK, Road Cycling UK, 16 of the best Aero road bikes, July 2017. So there's no shortage of review sites there. So what are we doing today? Well, what we're doing today is we're bringing some big data analysis. So if you remember our climbing bike database, or if you remember our value sale-based database, what we've actually done is create a spreadsheet where we've looked at bike value. Now, I'm not going to go into this in great detail again. I've explained it previously, but if you plot all the bikes of the same type, and in this plot, this is all Aero or special frame bikes, and you plot their weight, so that's the total weight, not just the frame and fork weight, against their RRP, then you get a nice plot where the more expensive the bike, generally you get a lighter product, and the cheaper the bike, basically the heavier it goes. So in cycling, you're paying a lot for getting a lightweight bike, hopefully still sturdy, hopefully one that's not going to fall apart, and hopefully one of a good vintage, if you like, a good brand, if that is important to you. Now I have to say for the record that branding and feel-good factor and quality and ultimately durability are not something that's easily analyzed by a spreadsheet. So this is a factor that is not going to easily come out. So where you think a particular brand is important, you're going to have to put that into the search yourself. I'll show you how to do that in a second. So I can't separate for you the inherent differences on, for example, buying Canyon over buying, let's say, Wilier, or buying Trek over buying Cipollini, for example. So today we're talking about Aero road bikes, and one important question is what defines an Aero road bike? Well, if we're talking about function, it's really simple. It's just a road bike that's designed to go as fast as possible by cutting through the air with the most efficient profile that we can achieve in terms of the design. But once we break down the design elements, there's various components here. There's various design tweaks that we might say set the bike apart from a non-Aero road bike, i.e. conventional road bike or climbing bike, or other type of bike, let's say. So let's take them from the top, and I would say number one, actually not necessarily a core part of the bike frame itself, are the bike wheels. The reason I'm saying that is if you think about the area of the bike, if you think about the air displacement of the bike, not with the rider, I'm not considering the rider just now, then the air displacement of the wheels is probably the most significant thing. In fact, if we combine the aero drag of both wheel sets together with the rolling resistance and even the very small, admittedly small, little bit of friction from the hubs front and rear, then if we add those all up, probably the most important thing that you could replace on a bike, and actually fairly easy to replace of course, are the front and rear wheel. And we've done quite a few videos on that in the past. So I'd say Aero wheels are probably the number one thing that defines an Aero road bike. Number two would be the profile of the tubing itself, i.e. is it an Aero frame, including the forks, and that includes not just the cross-sectional profile of the tubes, how it cuts through the air, that NASA NACA profile, etc., but also the depth of the tubes. The deeper the tube set, the more aerodynamic it will be, which is why the UCI had its 3-to-1 rule, which apparently it's relaxing of late. Next, I'd consider the front end of the bike. That includes the stem, also the bars, and even the levers to be next most important. And the reason for that is the bit that's meeting the air first at the top end of the bike. So that's why we're seeing integrated bars and stem, which may save something in the wind tunnel, but of course come at a slight disadvantage of comfort or fit. Next, I would say think about the wheelbase. The wheelbase is important, and the reason that's important is because if we take out the gaps between the wheels and the frame, let's look at the 3T Strada, by the way. This is a good example of this. The 3T Strada takes out every possible gap between the wheel and the frame. Well, if we do that, what happens is the wheelbase is condensed. The wheelbase is condensed relative to the size of the bike. Next, I would say concealed brakes, perhaps. Define a Aero road bike. Of course, that doesn't apply so much with the disc brakes, but with a non-disc brake bike, often the brakes are not sticking out in front. They're either concealed behind the front fork and behind the seat tube post, or even below the bottom bracket, as you know, rather like time trial bikes used to be in days gone by. Next, I would say the next definition, we're getting down to pretty small things here. The next tick box would be an Aero seat post. Yes, apparently if you go into the wind tunnel and compare an Aero seat post with a regular seat post, the effect is very, very small on CDA. So I'm not claiming it's the biggest effect in the world, but certainly on looks, when we're talking about looks, and looks are not the whole thing, but they are important to many people, an Aero seat post is going to be important. Next, I would say the geometry of the bike also has an effect on defining an Aero road bike. So by geometry, I actually mean a steep head tube angle, a steep seat tube angle, and a compact wheelbase, as we've already seen. And in addition to that, a relatively low stack height, so that when you do fit your stem, you don't have to fit a massively negative drop stem. And even then, with a huge stack height, obviously the headset is sticking up high into the wind. So in my opinion, a low stack height is an important part of any Aero road bike. Next, a marginal gain, but one that nevertheless you do see as a trend in Aero road bikes, which is a lowered or even minimal or even no rear seat stay. And the reason is that is catching the wind just slightly at the back. So if you can make that lower or smaller, it is going to be less of a drag, literally, even though the smaller you make that seat stay, the less stable the seat tube will be in general. And then penultimately, I would say not a core feature of an Aero road bike, but something that helps just slightly. And that is the marginal gain of through axles, i.e. no skewer lever sticking out in the wind. And very finally, you can achieve a small gain from the design, the integration of the water bottle, whether the water bottle itself is Aero or integrated with the frame as such. You can achieve an Aero advantage or minimize the disadvantage of that water bottle, I should say. That's been capitalized upon by a number of TT bikes of late. So basically, the Aero road bike copies what we've known from the TT bike for years and brings all of those features to the road bike design. Now let's return to our spreadsheet of the Aero road bike finder, guys. So without further ado then, let's see what we can do here. Well, the first thing I can do is tell you, in my opinion, well, in the opinion of the database if you like, the algorithm's opinion, let's put it that way. What are the worst value Aero bikes on the market? So I can just click this button which says significantly overpriced, and it brings up the worst. And as it happens, I've already ranked it for you here from 1 to 10. So let's have a look at this top 10 worst value list. Number 1 is the Pisoni Top Force Titanium, which was £16,095, even though it was only 7.6 kilograms, and that's around $20,000 US, guys. And we would actually estimate that the fair value price is around $3,800 for that bike, not including the markup because of the brand. You've got to put brand snobbery to one side when I give you this list. This is purely mathematical based on weight for fair value of aero-based bikes. And number 2 then is the Bastion Road Disc, which we found at 11,000 or almost 14,000 US dollars, but was only 7.56 kilograms. Number 3, we found Pinarello Dogma 65.1 2013 edition at £10,000 or $13,000, significantly overpriced. Then Specialized S-Works Venge VIS Dura Ace Di2 edition, also Specialized S-Works Venge E-Tap Disc edition. And then 4 or 5 bikes in a cluster: BMC Road Machine 01, Cipollini RB 1000 Dura Ace Di2, the Trek Modern Project 1 Race Shop Limited edition, and the Van Nicholas Astraeus 2016 Dura Ace Titanium model, which by the way came in around £6,000 but was 8.6 kilograms. And then a straggler at the end, the Stork Aero 2 IS 2012 edition. Alright, they're the ones that stood out to us as the worst value. Why don't we have a quick look now at the best value? And a simple way to do that, just click on this filter, change it to bargain price. Now we've got the reverse list, those at the top of the pile based on value. Now I have to admit, some sale prices have sneaked in here, so stores offering these on sale, and obviously they don't stay on sale for long, but they were on sale at the time I compiled this list. So what are the best value? Well, if you include my sale prices, the Giant Propeller Vans 2 2017 7.8, but we were finding it on sale for £1,500 or around $2,000, whereas we would say fair value for that was $3,500. Also, the very good, nearly always value for money Planet X EC130E. Now, just recently they had a summer sale where they brought that bike down to $12,999, but it was really worth around $3,000 based on an Aero road frame, carbon Aero road frame that came in around 8.25 kilos, all things considered. Number 3 here, we've got the Giant Propel Advanced 1 Limited, which we found for £1,739 or $2,200. Then we have the Canyon Ultimate Aluminium, the Aluminium SLX9 Aero. Really good weight on that aluminium bike. It came in at 7.46, but the RRP, and that's the regular RRP by the way, was $2,300. And as you know, Canyon have recently announced that they are releasing their bikes in the US, so that will make our US viewers happy. For number 5, we've got the Felt AR5 Aero, which we found on sale for £1,850 or $2,300 at 8 kilos. Then at number 6, an old bike. I don't think this is currently existing, and I saw this as an outlier, the Schmalk or Schmalke Titanium Namor. Now this was said to be 5.58 when it was reviewed in Road Bike, German magazine, so I would take that with a pinch of salt. It's also an old bike that you can't get anymore, and even though it was coming in around 6,000, that was still a remarkable price for a bike that weighed 5.58. Then we've got another perpetually on sale or cheap bike that's really a bargain price all year round, the Ribble Aero 883. And finally, let's round this off with another good value bike most of the year round, the Condor Leggero, 7.41 kilos, but only £2,500 or around $3,000 US dollars. So that would be my short list of great value or bargain priced aero bikes. Alright, now I partly ran through that for entertainment purposes, but what we're doing today guys is releasing the full spreadsheet for your perusal, not in Excel but in Google Sheets, because most of you are saying you don't always have Microsoft Excel. Okay, so here is the list of aero road bikes in Google Sheets, and as you see, we've listed it by brand, weight, we've got price, year, ranking, and we've got whether it's electronic shifting or disc brake. Now this is all very interesting, the manual list is there, but more advantageous for you guys if we can supply various sort or filter functions as they're called in Google Sheets, and sure enough we've done it for you here. So let me show you how this works. All you need to do is say what your bike preferences are. Now this is all the list of aero and titanium road bikes, around about 160 in the database. So let's say you had a preferred weight. Let's say I want an aero bike that's under 7.5 kilos. So you put 7.5 kilos in the filter. You can see the bikes that are coming up there are now under 7.5 kilos. But let's say I want electronic shifting. Yes, I want electronic shifting under 7.5 kilos, and I want something that's fair value. So you can see here that we've narrowed it down just by a few filters to this list of actually only 6 bikes. Alright, let's reset here. Let's look at it another way. Let's say I'm not bothered about the weight, but I just want something that's brilliant value. So let's put in 2 for value, because 1 is best value, 7 is worst value. 2 for best value, and then let's say price. I can only afford, my shopping, I can only afford this year, let's say $3,000. And it will tell you then, this is the list. Let's make it a little bit more stringent, shall we? $2,500. $2,500 is a really, a tall bar for those where you're talking about good value Aero road bikes. We've again listed it to about 7 bikes that come in and hit those criteria. Alright, let's reset that. So let's say I'm not bothered about the value, but I want a disc brake road bike. I want electronic shifting. And I also want something that's fairly decent value, but I'm not too fussed about value. What can you find me there? Well, if I say fair to good value, then there's only 3 bikes that are ticking electronic shifting, disc brakes and aero all at the same time. So here I'm asking for everything, aren't I? I'm asking for good value, I'm asking for disc brakes, I'm asking for electronic, and I'm asking for, of course, aero. And the result is only 3 bikes ticking all those boxes. Alright, you get the idea, guys. Well, I'm going to release this spreadsheet publicly very, very soon. Follow the link in the description below. But I think we should also give a shout out to all of our Patreon subscribers so far, because it's the Patreon subscribers so far that have really given me the incentive and the time to make this extra sheet from our big database. I would never have done that without the support of those Patreon viewers. So any of you guys that are wavering your Patreon support, this is exactly the kind of thing that by signing up to the Patreon site, you will give us more time to generate this kind of material in the future. So special thanks to Patreon subscribers, but thanks to all of you guys for watching. Stay safe out there, have a great ride, and if you're after an Aero road bike or a titanium road bike, I hope this helps you. Alright, take care, guys.